Hey, what is up out there, travelaholics? Lindsay here. I wanted to take a quick few minutes to share my ideas on the top 5 characteristics I feel every traveler should have. So, as many of you know, I've been on the road in Europe for 11 months, living out of a very small backpack and off of a very small budget. But I have been having the freaking time of my life and have been meeting so many people and having great experiences. And more recently, I started making these videos, and it's like awesome to me because now like so many people are messaging me, asking me questions and for advice and oh, where should I go? So I'm just like bursting with like wanting to share everything that I've learned along my journey so far. So number one, I want to say like, this is my hair down. If anybody was ever wondering, it's really not that fantastic. I'm like, I really need a haircut, but I'm just gonna work with it right now. Okay, so here are the top 5 characteristics I feel every traveler should have. First and foremost, number one is I feel like a traveler should be able to be a chameleon. And what I mean by that is that when you start traveling, you're gonna find yourself in such a variety of situations. So it's very important to be able to adapt to different situations. So for example, when I drove from California to Philadelphia when I was moving home to live with my mom prior to traveling, like my first night of driving cross country, I ended up sleeping in my car in Arizona in 100-degree heat because the person I was supposed to stay with, like the plans fell through. And it was so late, it was like 12 o'clock at night, and I was gonna wake up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning to drive the Apache Trail. So like in my mind, I'm like, I don't wanna pay for a room. So like I slept in my car in the heat with my dog. It was like crazy, but we made it through. And then not even like a week later, I was partying in Miami on like a multi-million-dollar yacht. I had my own room. I was like drinking champagne in a hot tub with like butlers serving us. So like being able to like adapt to like different situations and like find the beauty and appreciate all the scenarios that you find yourself in. So I feel like that's very important for me. Like I can go to a dive bar or I can go to a 5-star like restaurant and act appropriately and kind of like blend in with who I'm around. So especially with travel, because you're going to be meeting people from all different countries and all different walks of life. So by being able to like relate and listen and adapt in a variety of scenarios is paramount. The second characteristic is being authentic. So I think one thing that has always been my strength is like I always kind of knew who I was and who I wanted to be, and I've always been very direct and open in expressing myself and not feeling like, oh, I don't want people to judge me. Like I've always just been me. So I'm coming to find like with traveling and being around different people, like I become more of myself. And over the past 11 months, like sometimes maybe I need a filter here and there because I'm very direct, but for me I just feel like people are more like you're like a magnet when you're being authentic and you're functioning from a place of like the thoughts in your head and the feelings in your heart and just being upfront and not trying to like put on some act and try to like act like, you know, right now I'm very honest with like kind of my lifestyle and like not having like a lot of clothes and not having a lot of money, but I'm like so happy and so fulfilled that like it's just, for me, I think people get like attracted to that. They get attracted to an inspired, authentic person. So that is the second skill. So number 1 was chameleon. Number 2, being authentic. Number 3 is being honest. So as I just mentioned, I'm a pretty direct person, but I've also found myself in like different situations where like I just needed to speak up. Like more recently with the bed and breakfast owner that was kind of creepy, like instead of just being like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna walk away and disappear, like I still went to him and was honest. And I also had a professional experience when I was at the brain training center in California where I was on a team of like 5 executives, and like shit hit the fan with the owner and the consultant who was hired to train us. She like ended up turning her back on the owner and was like telling us that like I was committing fraud and he's just like blah blah blah, and like all of us were just recently hired, and like it was just crazy, you know. And I was the youngest one on the team, but everybody was like, people were crying, what do we do, oh my god, and like everybody quit. But instead of just quitting, I decided to go to the owner on a Friday night and just be honest and be like, dude, this is what people are saying behind your back, this is what's going on. And because I was the one who stepped forward, he kind of had a different respect for me. And I was able to stay there a little bit longer in the long haul, and ended up not working out, obviously, because I'm traveling. But like for me, it's like I had to be honest and straightforward. So I think that's very key also in traveling. Like I've met people, you know, like, or men that like want to take me out or do this, and it's like I gotta be honest with what my intentions are. Like I don't want to try to lead anybody on in regards to who I am or what I'm doing with my life. So number 3 is, this is an obvious one, is obviously you have to be open-minded, because I feel that the more open your mind, the more opportunities come into your life. And you know, I have so many memories. The one that sticks out to me and really well is when I was in Tenerife. Like I would have to walk 20 minutes to the bus stop, and we were kind of remote, but like I loved my time there, don't get me wrong, it was like amazing. But the one day I was walking home from hiking, and I was so tired, and I was just thinking in my head like, oh my god, I just want somebody to give me a ride, I'm so hot, I'm so tired. And lo and behold, the law of attraction answered, and the neighbor who had the little field behind the hostel that I was staying at, he was like, oh, and I didn't know Spanish at the time, and he's like, oh, get in the back. So I'm sitting there with my backpack on, like in the back of this little tiny like tractor, and instead of dropping me off at the hostel, he like takes me back like to his field, and it was like this older man, and I'm sitting there. It literally looked like something out of like a horror movie in terms of like, it was like this small shack in this field, and I'm like, oh great. But you know, he was like an older dude, like very old, like grandpa status, like probably in his 70s. And I just had an open mind, and I remained calm. Like I didn't feel like it was like, but he ended up like giving me all this homemade food and wine, and we were like trying to talk, and he was like the nicest, sweetest man. And then, you know, we had a gate share that let me into the hostel, and he like walked me there, and it was just like such a good experience. But like, had I not been open-minded or just like made some assumptions or like judged people, like I wouldn't have had that amazing memory. So I think for me, I'm very safe, don't get me wrong. Like I always like on alert as like a single female traveler, like to not put myself in situations where I'm gonna be like uncomfortable, but I also always keep an open mind. And I'm pretty, you know, now that I've had some experiences in my life, like I'm pretty in tune with like judging or like being able to feel a person's intentions and feel if a person is a good person or not. Like currently right now I'm staying with a friend that I met here in Sicily. He's older, he's in his 40s, and you know, like obviously with like a man and a woman, you feel like, oh my god, there might be intentions, but it just wasn't like that. Like I completely trust him. He's always been very respectful to me. Like we can like have intelligent conversations. He's a lawyer, so you know, it's like we're able to learn from each other, and like I'm helping him out and he's helping me out, and it's been very great. So yeah, so that was number 4, is open-minded. Number 5, I want to say that this has helped me a lot in my journey and in my life, is just being an optimistic person and just thinking like, trying to find the joy and the beauty and the inspiration in every single situation in your life. Because now that I'm like following my dreams and my heart is fulfilled, and I just feel a lot more humble than I did before. I think for me, just like always trying to kind of find the good in things, it's just so much a more pleasant way to live. Like all of us are gonna have shit happen in our life. Like I've gone through dark moments, I've been depressed, I've had my issues with anxiety, I've had my family problems, I've had problems with guys, I've had problems with friends, I've had problems with money. Like, you know, we're all gonna have our moments in life where it's like we have our struggles, but like being able to try to find the lesson and like come from a place of like, what is here to learn, and you know, how can I improve my life? I just have come to find out that it's just so much like more like enjoyable to come from an optimistic attitude than from just thinking that things are going to go wrong, or like, you know, oh my god, like, oh, the weather's raining today, and oh, there's traffic and blah blah blah. Like, because all what you're doing is hurting yourself, and you're taking away from your own happiness. So yeah, so I just had this idea because I was taking a bath tonight. I had like my little like step into luxury because my friend was at work, and I messaged him. I was like, is it okay if I use your jacuzzi? And he's like, absolutely. So I took a bath and I read a book. Actually, this book is very good. I'll recommend it to people. I am like a huge fan of Brendan Burchard. He has a book called The Millionaire Messenger, or The Millionaire Message, I forget. It's been a little while since I read it. And then I also have this book, it's called The Motivation Manifesto, and he gives his books away for free. Like, you just have to pay for shipping and handling, but for me, it's really good. I always want to be feeding my mind with like knowledge and positive information and that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend this book if you want to work on being a more authentic, honest, open-minded, and optimistic person who can be a chameleon. Okay? So anyway, everybody, if you have any questions, feel free as always to reach out to me. I will continue making videos